My beloved, there are seasons in this life when the winds will beat against your house, when the storms will rise without a warning, when the very ground beneath your feet will quake, and you will feel as if the world has forgotten your name. In those moments, it is tempting to think that you are alone, that your struggle is unseen, that the weight you carry is yours to bear until it breaks you. But I have come to remind you, with a voice that trembles with truth and a heart that has known sorrow yet still sings, that you are never abandoned. There is a force greater than the storm, stronger than the weight, more enduring than the pain. That force is God, and you can trust God to take care of you. It is not easy to trust when the cupboard is bare and the children are hungry. It is not easy to trust when the doctor's words cut like a blade and the diagnosis feels like a prison sentence. It is not easy to trust when your heart has been betrayed by the one you loved, or when you look for a friend and find only silence. Yet, in the most desolate moments of human existence, trust becomes not just an option, but a lifeline. Trust is the candle that keeps burning when the night is too dark to see your own hands. Trust is the whisper in the ear of your soul that says, "You will not be forsaken." Some may ask, why should I trust? Why should I hand over my fears and hopes to a God I cannot see? I will tell you why. Because you cannot see the wind, but you feel it press against your skin. You cannot see the air, but you breathe it with every inhale that keeps you alive. You cannot see tomorrow, but tomorrow still arrives faithful as the dawn. God works in much the same way, unseen yet undeniable. God is the hand that steadies you when you stumble, the embrace that holds you when you weep, the light that pierces through even the heaviest clouds. To trust God is not to deny your pain. It is not to pretend that you are not frightened, weary, or lost. To trust God is to say, "Yes, I am afraid, but fear will not rule me. Yes, I am weary, but I will lean into the everlasting arms. Yes, I am lost, but I will walk knowing that every step is guided." Trust is not blindness. It is the deepest form of sight. It is the soul's vision of a horizon beyond the mountains, of a morning beyond the midnight hour. I have lived long enough to know that trusting God does not mean your path will be easy. In fact, trust often grows strongest in hardship. When the earth is dry, roots dig deeper. When the night stretches long, stars shine brighter. So it is with faith. Trust is carved into our beings not when life flows smooth, but when rivers rise and threaten to carry us away. If you want to see the true strength of your faith, look at it in the valley, not the mountaintop. Look at it when your voice is hoarse from crying, when your knees ache from kneeling, when your heart is cracked wide open. It is there, in the rawness of your humanity, that divine trust takes root. I know what it is to be misunderstood, to be overlooked, to be burdened with a history that others think should have crushed me. And I know what it is to be lifted by grace, to be carried when I could not walk, to be cradled by mercy I did not earn. That is why I can tell you, without hesitation, that you can trust God to take care of you. You may be struggling now, but remember that life is not a straight road. It bends, it turns, it climbs, it dips, but it never stays the same. Seasons change. What is heavy today may be lifted tomorrow. What is broken today may be healed tomorrow. What is lost today may be restored tomorrow. Trust requires patience, and patience requires faith that the seed buried in darkness will one day break the ground and reach toward the sun. I have seen mothers with nothing but scraps on their table still whisper prayers of thanksgiving, and I have seen those prayers answered with abundance they could not have imagined. I have seen men beaten down by life stand up tall again, not because their burdens disappeared, but because they chose to trust that the weight was not the end of their story. I have seen the sick recover. I have seen the grieving find joy again. I have seen the lonely discover love beyond measure. Each time I knew it was not chance or luck, but the power of trust in a God who never fails. Do not mistake delay for denial. Just because your blessing has not arrived today does not mean it will never come. A child in the womb does not see the light until the appointed time. A flower does not bloom in winter, but spring is always coming. You must wait with trust, not with despair. Wait as if you know the dawn is on its way, because it is. When you trust God, you begin to see even your trials as teachers. Pain becomes a lesson in endurance. Loss becomes a lesson in gratitude. Struggle becomes a lesson in strength. Every tear waters the ground of your growth, and every setback is but a setup for your comeback. Trust transforms how you see the world. It turns obstacles into opportunities, darkness into depth, despair into determination. You may say, "But I am weak." And I say, "Yes, you are. We all are." "That is why we need the one who is strong," you may say. "But I am unworthy." And I say, "Yes, you are. We all are." That is why grace is a gift and not a wage. You may say, "But I am afraid." And I say, "Yes, you are. We all are." That is why courage is born not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of trust. If you can trust the ground to hold you when you walk, if you can trust the chair to hold you when you sit, if you can trust the sun to rise though you do not command it, then surely you can trust the creator of the ground, the chair, the sun, and your very soul to take care of you. So let your heart rest. Stop clenching your fists around what you cannot control. Stop pacing the floor with worries that solve nothing. Stop torturing your mind with what ifs and maybes. Lay it down. Surrender it. Let your burdened shoulders feel the relief of knowing that you do not have to carry everything by yourself. Trust is the release that allows peace to flow in. Trust is the open hand that allows blessings to be placed in your palm. And do not think you are too small, too broken, too insignificant to be cared for. The same God who paints the sky each dawn and sets the stars each night also numbers the hairs on your head. The same God who commands the oceans knows the sound of your cry. The same God who shapes mountains and valleys also shapes your heart. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are cherished. You are held. Look back over your life for a moment. Think of the times you thought you could not make it, yet here you are. Think of the nights you thought would never end, yet the morning came. Think of the mistakes you thought would define you, yet you found redemption. Think of the doors that shut only to lead you to better ones. Each memory is a testimony, each survival a reason to trust again. If God carried you through before, why would you doubt God now? And if you still question, then look not at yourself, but look around you. Look at the trees standing tall through seasons of sun and storm. Look at the rivers flowing steadily though rocks block their way. Look at the birds singing songs though they know not where their next meal will come from. Creation itself testifies of trust. It speaks of a God who sustains, who provides, who cares without ceasing. There will be days when doubt will knock on your door. Do not shame yourself for it. Doubt is a visitor, but it does not have to be a resident. When it knocks, answer with remembrance. Answer with gratitude. Answer with faith. Say, "I have seen too much. I have survived too much. I have received too much to stop trusting now." I want you to walk out of here knowing that trusting God is not weakness. It is the strongest thing you can do. It is not foolishness. It is wisdom beyond understanding. It is not surrendering to defeat. It is surrendering to victory already written in your name. So, my beloved, trust. Trust when the day is bright, and trust when the night is long. Trust when your hands are full, and trust when they are empty. Trust when the path is clear, and trust when it is hidden. Trust when the answer is yes, and trust when the answer is wait. Trust when the world applauds you, and trust when it forgets you. Trust, because God will take care of you. Always trust transforms pain into purpose. When life presses against your chest, and every breath feels like a burden, the natural instinct is to recoil, to resist. to wish away the suffering, as though pain itself is a cruel mistake. But what if the very thing you wish away holds the seed of your destiny? What if the tears you try to hide water the soil of your future strength? Trust is the bridge that carries you from pain to purpose, and without it, pain remains only an open wound, raw and unhealed. But when you trust, when you dare to believe that your suffering is not wasted, that your brokenness is not meaningless, that your scars can become maps for others who are lost, then pain is transfigured into purpose, and you are no longer a victim, but a vessel. Pain often whispers that you are alone, that your story has no meaning beyond the ache in your heart. Trust counters with a louder, deeper truth. There is something greater unfolding, even if you cannot see it now. Consider how the caterpillar must endure the darkness of the cocoon, confined and stripped of its former identity, before it can ever take flight as a butterfly. If the caterpillar judged its existence in the midst of that confinement, it might believe its suffering was the end. But with trust in the unseen process, the transformation reveals a purpose, more glorious than the caterpillar could imagine. So it is with human pain. Without trust, the cocoon is a prison. With trust, the cocoon is a doorway. When you sit in grief, trust reminds you that the depth of your sorrow is proof of the depth of your love, and love itself is a noble purpose. When you walk through rejection, trust reminds you that closed doors are not punishments but redirections, pushing you toward a place where your worth will be recognized. When you wrestle with loss, trust whispers that even though what was taken cannot return, what remains can still flourish, and what will come may hold blessings beyond your current vision. Pain, left alone, corrodes the soul. But pain held in the hands of trust becomes clay moldable, able to be shaped into something new and useful. Trust does not erase the memory of suffering. It does not demand that you forget the nights you wept until your pillow was soaked, or the mornings when rising from bed felt like a mountain climb. What it does is give those moments dignity. It tells you that your struggle was not in vain, that every moment of endurance planted a seed of resilience, that every trial carved into your heart a deeper well of empathy. Purpose is not born from ease. Purpose is born when the soul refuses to let pain be wasted. Think of the people who inspire you most. They are not those who floated through life untouched by hardship. They are those who stumbled, bled, broke, and yet somehow rose again. Their stories move you not because they were spared from pain, but because they trusted that their pain could serve a higher calling. A singer who lost her voice for a time learns to sing with more soul when it returns. A man who knew hunger as a child feeds nations when he gains success. A mother who buried her son comforts other grieving mothers with words they know are not hollow, because she has walked the same valley. That is pain transformed into purpose through trust. If you try to hold on to pain as proof that life is unfair, it will poison you. It will fester into bitterness, resentment, despair. But if you release it into trust, saying, "I do not yet see how, but I believe this pain can serve me, can shape me, can guide me," then you begin to find purpose even in what once threatened to destroy you. Trust does not require you to enjoy the suffering. It does not ask you to celebrate the wound. It simply asks you to believe that the wound can heal into wisdom, that the broken pieces can be rearranged into a mosaic, that the darkness can prepare you to cherish the light more fully. The greatest stories of survival and triumph are stories of trust. A child growing up in hardship trusts that education or determination can lead to a brighter future, and through the struggle discovers not only success, but compassion for those still trapped in poverty. A person betrayed in love trusts that their heart can love again, and through healing becomes a voice reminding others not to give up on connection. A soul battling illness trusts that even if the body is frail, the spirit can still shine with strength, and their resilience becomes a beacon to others in pain. Pain becomes purpose when it is shared. Your suffering equips you to speak into the lives of others who suffer. Trust pushes you to open your mouth when someone else is weeping, to say, "I understand. I have walked where you walk, and there is hope on the other side." The very thing that once threatened to silence you becomes the reason your voice matters. Your pain teaches you empathy, and empathy is a divine purpose. But make no mistake, transformation does not happen instantly. Trust is not a switch you flip. It is a daily choice. You will have mornings when the weight feels too heavy, and trust seems like a distant dream. In those moments, trust may be as small as a whisper, as simple as saying, "I don't know how this will end, but I believe it can mean something." That whisper is enough. A single seed of trust can grow into a forest of purpose if you tend it with patience. When you look back years from now, you will see patterns that pain blinded you to in the moment. You will recognize that the heartbreak that once nearly ended you also stripped away illusions that needed to be removed. You will understand that the job you lost created space for a calling far greater than a paycheck. You will see that the illness taught you gratitude for every breath, every sunrise, every embrace. In hindsight, trust and purpose become clear companions. What felt like punishment reveals itself as preparation. So, when you are in the middle of your trial, remember that pain without trust is only suffering, but pain with trust is transformation. Trust is the alchemy that turns ashes into beauty, wounds into wisdom, trials into testimonies. To believe in that alchemy is to honor both your humanity and your divinity. To declare that your pain will not define you, it will refine you. For in trusting, you hand your broken pieces to the one who knows how to arrange them into a masterpiece. And in doing so, you discover that your pain was never the end of the story, but the beginning of your purpose. God's care is both infinite and intimate. To grasp this truth is to step into a mystery larger than the oceans and yet closer than your very heartbeat. When people speak of the divine, they often imagine vastness, skies without end, galaxies spinning in silence, power beyond comprehension. That is true, but it is not the whole truth. For the God who holds the universe together is the same God who counts the tears on your cheeks, who knows the quiet fears you never speak aloud, who understands the thoughts you hide even from yourself, infinite and intimate both at once. That is the nature of divine care. When you look at the stars, scattered across the heavens in unnumbered brilliance, you are looking at evidence of infinity. Their sheer magnitude, their endlessness, testifies that God's reach cannot be measured. And yet, in the same breath, consider the sparrow, a small bird that falls unnoticed by the world, yet not forgotten by God. That is intimacy. The vast and the minute, the cosmic and the personal, the eternal and the present moment. God's care embraces it all. Too often, people imagine they are overlooked, as if their struggles are too small for God's attention. They say to themselves, surely God is too occupied with wars, with nations, with the turning of the earth to notice my tears at midnight. But that is the error of trying to measure infinity by human limits. To be infinite is to never be divided, never to run out, never to be stretched too thin. The same love that sustains the stars is the love that comforts you in your loneliness. The same hand that directs the tide is the hand that steadies you when you stumble. There is profound relief in this truth. For when you realize that God is both infinite and intimate, you stop believing you must compete for divine attention. You do not have to shout louder than your neighbor. You do not have to prove yourself more worthy. You do not have to bargain with heaven for scraps of mercy. You are already seen, already known, already cherished. Just as the ocean does not measure out drops of water sparingly, God does not measure out care in rations. The ocean gives freely, waves upon waves, and so does the infinite love of God. Think of how intimacy shows itself in the human world. A mother notices when her child is tired before a word is spoken. A friend hears what is left unsaid between sentences. A lover can trace the outline of a face in memory with closed eyes. If flawed human beings can know one another with such depth, how much more does God, whose knowledge of you is complete, care for you with tenderness? To trust this is to rest in a love so personal, it is woven into your very existence. The infinite nature of God's care means there are no boundaries, no corners of the earth or recesses of the soul that are beyond reach. Whether you are standing at the peak of success or crawling in the valley of despair, the care is the same. Whether your hands are lifted in gratitude or trembling in fear, the care is the same. Infinite care means that every situation is embraced, every need is accounted for, every wound is noticed. The intimate nature of God's care means that this vast love is not abstract or distant. It is not love in theory. It is love in practice. It is the whisper of peace when you cannot sleep. It is the unexpected kindness of a stranger on the day you thought no one saw you. It is the strength to take one more step when you swore you could not go on. It is the small mercies tucked into ordinary days. A smile, a sunrise, a song that arrives just when your heart needs it. Infinite and intimate, always both. Consider how water works. The ocean stretches farther than the eye can see. Powerful and endless, yet when you drink from a glass of water, that same ocean's essence sustains you at the most personal level. The vastness does not cancel the closeness. The closeness is possible because of the vastness. So it is with God's care. You are not forgotten in the immensity. You are sustained precisely because of it. People sometimes believe that because their wounds are hidden, they do not matter. But intimacy means God knows the hidden places, the secrets buried deep, the quiet cries that never make it past your lips. Infinite means there is no end to the capacity of care, and intimate means no detail is too small to be included. The bruise on your spirit is not overlooked. The doubt in your mind is not dismissed. The longing in your heart is not trivial. Each is gathered, each is held, each is met with a love that spans eternity and yet bends low to sit with you in your sorrow. This dual nature of care invites you to live differently. It frees you from fear of abandonment because you know you are never out of reach. It frees you from shame because you know you are fully seen and still fully loved. It frees you from despair because you know that nothing is wasted. Not your joy, not your suffering, not even your silence. Infinite care ensures you are never beyond redemption, and intimate care ensures you are never beyond comfort. When you walk outside and feel the sun warm your skin, you are touched by a force that shines over the entire earth, yet it touches you individually in that moment. That is what divine care is like. Expansive enough to cover all, yet personal enough to rest gently upon you. There is no contradiction here. The infinite makes the intimate possible, and the intimate makes the infinite real. To hold this truth is to walk with courage. For if God's care is infinite, then there is no problem too great for resolution. And if God's care is intimate, then there is no pain too small for attention. This combination means you are safe in a way the world cannot offer, secure in a way circumstances cannot shake, beloved in a way nothing can undo. So when you doubt, remind yourself of the stars and the sparrows. When you feel invisible, remind yourself of the hairs numbered on your head. When you feel abandoned, remind yourself of the hand that knit you together before you even drew your first breath. Infinite and intimate, two truths that meet in one divine embrace, surrounding you always with care that is beyond comprehension, yet closer than your very pulse.